Assalamu alaikum, this is Dr. Mona El-Idrisi, author of The Muslim Narcissist. In today's podcast, I'll be addressing the Muslim red pill men in our societies and also understanding what Islam says about the perception of life from the red pill Muslim men's perspective. So who are the red pill men? In short, red pill men are those who justify modern day misogyny. And the reason why it is very confusing for a lot of people to understand and fully grasp the idea and the concept that red pill men come with is because they do take a lot of traditional elements of religion and they enmesh it with modern day society. So what do I mean by this? I mean that the red pill men, they admire the traditional family unit. So they are very big on highlighting masculine traits in men to make them providers, leaders, protectors, and so on. And they're also supporting women to become, the caretakers of the home, women who stay at home to raise their children, women who prioritize looking after the husband, looking after the family. All of that is encouraged and supported by the red pill men. However, at the same time, these red pill men want the benefits of modern day hookup culture society. So if I'm speaking now about non-Muslim men, we are talking about them engaging in toxic hookup culture. We are talking them engaging in having multiple sexual partners whenever they please. So they believe that if they can hold the fort with the family and they are providing their families with everything that they need, then they are entitled to do whatever they want with other women and to treat women how they please because they have reached a certain level in their masculinity that entitles them to do that. And what they feel entitles them to be that way is the amount of wealth that they have. So the more wealthy a man is, the more he's successful in life, the more he feels he has the luxury of being able to get all the women that he wants in his life and to enjoy all the women that he desires. All the while expecting that his wife, who is at home looking after his children, is accepting of this, is accepting of the way he lives his life because he feels like he has earned it. He feels that he has now reached a stage in his life where he has earned the ability and earned the position of being a man who can have any woman that he wants because he's got the bait. He's got the bait for the most beautiful woman in his community, the most beautiful woman he comes across on his travels, the most beautiful woman who he comes across in life. If he wants any of those women, he feels that he is now entitled to have them because he has the wealth in order to do that. Now, a prime example of a red pill man is Andrew Tate. Andrew Tate has been making huge headlines recently because of the ways, in which he speaks about women, the way he perceives women, the way he, perceives life in general. Now, I'm not against Andrew Tate 100%. There are so many things that Andrew Tate says that I actually do agree with. So his idea of the traditional family, how women should be, how men should be, I agree with all of that. Everything that he talks about, in the world and everything that's going wrong and everything that's being corrupt, all of that I agree with. However, I do not agree with his outlook on women. I do not agree that a man's primary goal in life is to get rich and get as many women as he or she wants, because to him he is promoting that as a man's ultimate success. You reach the peak of your success when you earn so much money and you can get any woman you want. You can get multiple women. You will have the authority and you will have the ability to have a huge harem of women that you can enjoy. So ideally when you're looking at this from a social perspective, if a man's ideal goal is to have as many women as possible, and the only way to achieve that is by making lots of money, then where does that put all the other men who are not high earners, who do not have good business skills, who have not got it written in their rizq to be making a lot of money? What happens to those men? What happens to those men when the idea of being successful as a man and masculine as a man and privileged as a man comes with wealth and having beautiful women around you, but there are many men out there who are struggling to achieve that lifestyle, struggling to achieve that, that kind of wealth and having the luxury of having beautiful women around them. So now, alhamdulillah, Andrew Tate, he's converted, he's become Muslim, and, we make dua that, inshallah, he will reform his ways. He will understand Islam more, and he will understand that, the ways in which he perceives women have nothing to do with Islam and have nothing to do with, the teachings of our Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, when he actually came to, improve the way men in the times of Jahiliyyah, in the times of pre-Islamic Arabia, he came to improve the way men treat women and the way men, view women, because women were always treated as objects. Women were always treated as sexual objects to enjoy. And he worked very hard. Our Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, he worked so hard to civilize the men. Really, really worked hard to civilize the men, and no one fought harder for women's rights than our beloved Prophet. So when we see now, the modern red pill guys who've popped up in our society now, who are pushing for modern misogyny, who are pushing for men to view women as sexual objects only to be enjoyed, then we are now going back to pre-Islamic Arabia. We are now undoing all the work and all the fighting and all the hardships that our Prophet went through, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that he went through to civilize the men and civilize our society, so that women can be respected, women can be looked upon as partners and be looked upon as equals, as human beings. So this is a really important subject for me to address today, and I've been wanting to address it for a while now. I've been speaking to different men for their opinions on, the red pill Muslim men who have popped up now in our societies more and more, and it's just caused a crisis. There is a crisis now amongst our young Muslim men who are being brainwashed, who are actually being brainwashed by the Muslim men who are coming up and wanting to be Andrew Tate wannabes. So one of the main things that I've noticed is that the alpha male that the red pill men promote is the narcissistic alpha male. So the narcissistic alpha male is hugely entitled, hugely arrogant. They walk around feeling like they are the best because they have money. They are the best because they've got that power, they've got that control. They are the best because they've got the bait to get them the quality woman that they seek. That they are the best because they have achieved a level of success that other men are not able to achieve. Because these guys, they're always saying how they get up early in the morning and they hustle and they grind and they do this and they do that. And because of their hard work, they now feel entitled to everything that they want. So it promotes arrogance in your character. And if you read my book and if you've listened to my previous podcasts, you'll understand that narcissism, the core root of narcissism is arrogance. And every red pill man out there is highly arrogant in the way that they speak, in the way they address people. They're very patronizing. They look down upon people. They talk to everybody like they're stupid. They always think that they're better than other people. They don't have that sense of being humble when they've reached a certain level of success in their lives. They immediately have that sense of entitlement and arrogance that, I am better than you and you are all stupid because I know the game and you don't. So now everything is flipped. So the man who is, going out of his way, doing nice things for women, tolerating women, being patient with women, especially in marriage, they're being looked upon as simps. They are being made fun of by alpha men, by these alpha red pill men, as simps. But one of the things that the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, he encouraged was that men be empathic. Men have to be empathic. Men have to be kind. Men have to be loving, towards their women. They have to be generous. They have to be gift givers. They've got to be loyal to women because that is how you win the heart of a woman. It's not always with money. It's not always with money. And the Muslim red pill men right now, I feel like it's out of jealousy. It's out of so much jealousy that they see that the non-Muslim men have their hookup culture. okay? They've got their Tinder hookup culture. They get to enjoy, I'm talking about especially the wealthy guys who are not Muslim. They go on Tinder, they go out in the world, and because of their wealth, they're able to enjoy having the company and intimacy with all the beautiful women that they want. The red pillars in our Muslim societies, I feel it's out of jealousy. Like, why is it that the non-Muslims can have that and we can't? How can we justify this? How can we create a new alpha identity, and we bring Islam into it, we bring being Muslim into it, but we still get a slice of that pie. We still get a slice of, of that hookup culture that they have and the enjoyment of women. How can we do that? They bring Islam into it with marriage and polygyny. So you will find a lot of red pill Muslim men. They have a lot of temporary marriages, because for them it's like, if we make it halal, if we make the hookup culture, the modern day hookup culture, if we can make it halal somehow to justify that we are not, committing major sins, then we can get away with having the same lifestyle as the non-believers. Like, can you see how toxic this is in their way of thinking? So now they're engaging in temporary nikah contracts. They're engaging in temporary marriages in which women don't get their rights. Women are being discarded like they really are being used for sex. It's like they have been picked up off, like Tinder. They've got a bogus, fake, very dodgy nikah done, which it's called the mut'a marriage in Arab culture, which was banned by the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, by the way. It was banned because women need to have their rights. Women are entitled to honour and respect, and they need to have their rights fulfilled in a marriage. But these so-called Muslim men will engage in hookup culture by getting married, getting these temporary marriages done again and again and again and again. They follow a cycle that allows them, that permits them to do that with, justifying it Islamically. So in their eyes, they're thinking, well, I'm married. If I'm actually marrying her, then there's no harm done. But these marriages can last 2 weeks, 2 months, a year max, and they will often put the condition that no children, that they want no children born out of that marriage. Now, unfortunately, there are also red pill women who are, encouraging men to do this. There are lots of Muslim women out there who are supporting this. So, Muslim men would not be able to get away with this if there are not women out there who are also toxic supporting what these men are doing, because these women are also being brainwashed by these men into thinking that this, if these women want to engage in a halal hookup culture, then they will be willing to compromise and accept being treated in that way, under the guise of it being an Islamic marriage. So toxic women, again, who are okay with engaging in such behavior, in such, in such problematic relationships, will facilitate this for men. They will facilitate it for men. And more often than not, a lot of people don't know about it. Their families won't even know about it. They won't know that they're married. And this is why it becomes a big problem, because they're not protected. If a woman's family does not know that she's married, then she immediately loses the protection of, her father, her brothers, should that man abuse her, and should that man really take advantage of her, especially if she's got money, especially if she's, she's a woman who's got a position in society, whatever it is that he can take advantage of, she's now vulnerable to him when she has no social support, no family support in this marriage. And so these men, a lot of these men are now coming out on YouTube, making loads of videos about, how to be an alpha Muslim man, and who are the beta Muslim men out there, who are the simps out there, and they're categorizing men into these compartments. So if you are empathic, if you are kind, if you are loving, you tend to be more of a beta man, especially if you're not earning very much, especially if you are somebody who is tolerant and patient with your wife. you are in the category of being a simp. You're too beta, you're too feminine. You're not man enough. You're not man enough to, to manage and deal with women. Now, the more alpha the red pill man is, the more narcissistic he will become. And I truly believe that all of these red pill guys, they're all narcissists. They're all narcissistic because what they promote is against Islam. What they promote is not in the favour of women. It's not even in the favour of men. It's ruining society. It's corrupting the society. If you look at my other podcast that I did, that I created last week about, the narcissistic satanic mission of destroying the family unit, destroying the society, destroying your faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is a part of it. They talk so much about the system and the New World Order and, not being a part of the Matrix and not being a part of this and part of that. They are a part of it and they can't see it. They cannot see that the red pill Muslim man, especially the Muslim man, because faith is now brought into it. Islam is now brought into it, which makes it even more dangerous because you are now brainwashing people and playing with people's faith. You are now playing with people's relationships with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You're now playing with people's understanding of the Quran. So the Muslim man or any religious man who becomes a red pill alpha is now stepping into dangerous territory because they're using Islam to justify their toxic attitudes, their toxic behaviour, their toxic beliefs about women, about themselves, about other men. So one of the major problems that they can't see is that they are a part of the system. They are a part of the toxic system to damage society, because the hookup culture has shown more often than not that it actually creates mental health problems in both men and women. It's caused huge instability. It's caused a lot of people to not get married anymore. A lot of men do not want to get married the proper way, the right way. A lot of women don't want to get married anymore because the easy access to sex, the easy access to relationships, to having a relationship, to actually living with somebody and not have that commitment, to have children outside of marriage, to be able to have open relationships, to be able to dabble in sexual activities with the same sex, all of that can now be done outside the context of marriage. All of it. And it can now be done in public, whereas, before, major sins like, dabbling in homosexuality and all of those things, they used to be acts of shame. People used to hide that because people knew that these things were sinful. But now, because of the hookup culture and the push, the evil push, the satanic push towards, enjoyment, sexual enjoyment, financial enjoyment, everything that is considered to be satanic in terms of, following our desires is being supported by the red pill Muslim men. It's being supported by them. Now, how do we know that the red pill men are narcissistic? We understand from the Quran and Sunnah that the more spiritual you are, the more connected you are to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the less connected you will be to this dunya and to the pleasures of this dunya and to the material of this dunya. And the more narcissistic you are, the more you will favour the material over spirituality, the more you will hold on to the material gains and the wealth and physical pleasures than you will to your connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So you will prioritise your main goal in life, your main mission in life is to gather a lot of wealth, is to have a lot of sexual enjoyment, is to, really reap the pleasures of this world, the material pleasures of this world. And that's what narcissists do. Narcissists are extremely attached to the dunya because they are on the lowest form of nafs. So they are, they lean towards, or they are in the bracket of an-nafs al-ammara bis-su'. And codependents are as well. Now, the codependents who lean more towards empathy, they won't be so attached to the dunya like narcissists are. But the codependents who are high in narcissistic traits will be. Codependent women especially are very attached to, to the dunya. They're attached to jewelry, they're attached to clothes, looking good, always looking good. So anything that has to do with the material, which is physical beauty, physical sexual pleasure, money, food, lovely houses, lovely cars, supercars, all of these things are dunya related. So just going back to my point of these men and women, the red pill men and women, being a part of this system, it just goes to show that because the satanic mission is connected to this dunya, it's all about this dunya. It's all about the distractions of this dunya. The more the shaitan can distract you, with this dunya and making money and having this and having that, and having these women and having this pleasure and that pleasure, the more you're pleasing shaitan, the more you become a part of his mission in society to corrupt it. So instead of encouraging people to be more empathic, to be more loving as men, to be more kind as men, these guys are doing the opposite. Now, the men who are kind and compassionate and empathic, again, they're looked upon as simps. They're looked upon as weak, pathetic, feminine men by these particular guys. So I go back to the Quran Hadith all the time when it comes to these things. Like, a lot of men now are confused as to what being alpha really means. Who is the alpha man? Who is the feminine man? Who is the beta man? Who's the simp? In my opinion, from my observations, a Muslim simp is someone who chases women, the Barbie girl women, who have no deen and no morality. If a Muslim man is crying over a woman like that, he's a simp, okay? Because he's now chasing for her approval. He's doing everything he can to win her over because she's got that physical beauty that he's admiring. She's got that physical beauty that's made him go crazy. It's made him lose his mind. But does she have deen? No. Does she have any morals? No. Does she have a good character? No. Will she be a good mother to his future children? No, she won't be. So a man who chases a woman like that is definitely a simp. 100%. A man who chases a woman who clearly isn't interested in him, that's a simp. Because a true man has boundaries. A true man has dignity. If a woman has rejected you, if a woman does not want to be with you, you don't chase her. You don't look desperate by chasing her and, showering her with gifts and compliments. No, you have your dignity and you walk away. She's given you that rejection, respect that boundary. If a man cannot respect that boundary, he's considered to be a simp. But to the alpha red pill Muslim man, I'm not going to talk about the non-Muslims in this podcast because this entire channel is about, the Muslim narcissist. So I'm going to look at it from the Muslim, the Muslim male perspective. If in the eyes of the Muslim red pill male, a man who is kind, empathic, loving, and he goes out of his way for a woman who he believes is worth it. Like, I believe that this woman is worth it. I believe that she's worth going out of my way for and working hard for. I'll have 2 jobs if I have to, to provide for her and take care of her and do this for her and do that for her. If the alpha red pill man is looking at that man as a simp, then he has lost an incredible amount of his empathy. An incredible amount. Because a lot of people forget that we already have the perfect alpha male role model in our Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. We already have that. Why do you think Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala emphasizes so much on his love for the messenger if he doesn't want us to take him as a role model? If he doesn't want our men to take him as a role model? Because he has the perfect balance. He has the perfect balance. Aisha radiallahu anha, she used to say that the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ was a walking Quran. If you want to know what the Quran means, if you want to know what a Muslim man truly is, who he truly is, and how his character should be, look at the Prophet. Because she used to describe him as the walking Quran. So when we, as Muslims, turn to people like Andrew Tate and all these misogynistic young Muslim men online as role models, we know we've got an education crisis in our communities, in our ummah, a severe educational crisis, because we've already been taught how to raise boys to be alpha in the correct way. So if we look at the Prophet's character, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he was, if you look at him from modern day, misogynistic views, like from the red pill male perspective, what he used to do for his wives, the patience he had for his wives, the love, the compassion, the understanding, the tolerance. Now, the modern, red pill Muslim man will look at him as a beta. The Prophet would have been beta in their eyes, because the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ was incredibly patient with his wives, incredibly patient. There was a story of, I think it was Safiya radiallahu anha. She sent a plate of food to the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ's house where he was living with Aisha radiallahu anha. And Aisha went to answer the door, and she took the plate of food, and she was so jealous because Safiya radiallahu anha was known to make amazing food. Like, the Prophet always complimented Safiya's food because it was so beautiful, it was so delicious. And she just got so jealous. She got so jealous and she smashed the plate on the floor. She deliberately just smashed the plate on the floor, and she ran out of the room. And the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, he got down, he gathered the plates, he gathered the food, and he was telling the children, don't be upset, don't be angry. Your mother's just jealous. She just got a bit jealous. He cleared up the mess. Now, let's put one of these misogynistic Muslim men in his position. While that's happened, how do you think that they would have dealt with that? Andrew Tate is constantly talking about, being disrespected by women, saying that if one woman disrespects me, if she dares to raise her voice at me, she's out. The first mistake a woman will make, she's out. That's not Islam. There are so many examples of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ being incredibly patient, loving, compassionate with his wives, even when they do wrong, even when they argue with him, even when they're angry and upset with him. The way he dealt with them with care, kind, love and compassion. But Muslim red pill men see men like this now as being simps, as being pushovers, as being feminine, as being men who are weak and they can't stand up for themselves. Men who are patient because they're weak. So when Muslim red pill men come across as being practicing and religious, you will often find them spiritually abusing women, especially the women that they're married to. They will become ruthless and overly strict with their wives in order to gain compliance and obedience, and they will often use misinterpreted verses of the Quran and hadiths that are taken out of context in order to exert power and dominance over a woman, especially if she doesn't have an efficient amount of education and knowledge about her rights. Now, those are the perfect women that misogynistic women prey on. Those who are religious, they always prey on women who don't have that much knowledge about their rights. And so when a man allows a woman to get away with, being jealous or being angry or having a rage episode about something, or she has like a hormonal episode, they see those men as being far too tolerant of, women's the way women react to problems. These men do not allow women to react that way to problems. They will put a foot-on-throat approach, as I've heard, on women so that they can repress and suppress, their emotions, and because they don't know how to deal with those kinds of emotions. They don't want to deal with that headache. You either comply or you're quiet. You've got to stay quiet. And so they will take a harsh interpretation of Islam and implement it on their victims. in order to gain compliance, and they use that traditional understanding of the family unit. They use that traditional understanding of, male and female roles, gender roles, in order to exert their power and dominance again over women. So, like I said, the men in Islamic marriage are meant to be the qawamun. The qawam is the person who is in the position of a leader, protector, provider. And a woman is to, she shows her loyalty and obedience to that man. Now, when I say obedience, I mean full respect. You give that man full respect. You don't just go out whenever you feel like it without informing him. You don't travel without informing him. You don't do things that he might not like without letting him know. That's the kind of obedience that, Islam encourages, because there has to be that mutual respect, because that man is responsible for a woman's safety. He's responsible for his wife's well-being and safety. So he has the right to know what she's doing and where she's going and so on. It's not toxic. It's not toxic masculinity for a man to always know where his wife is and what she's doing and who she's with, because he's responsible for her. However, Muslim red pill men take it too far, and they use it to control. They justify that understanding of Islam to control women, to make their lives a living hell if they have to keep tabs on them at all time, to not let them go out with friends, not let them socialise with family members that they don't like, and so on. So these Muslim men in particular will be the ones who are overly strict for no reason, and they make life difficult because of their understanding and implementation of a harsh understanding of Islam. They make life very difficult and they make life miserable. And that's why their marriages don't last for very long. Because eventually, even the woman who is ignorant of her rights will get fed up. Even that woman will say, she can't take it. She can't deal with it. It's just strict rules and regulations, and there's no real love. There's no kindness, compassion, understanding. There is no closeness. There is no best friend relationship in that marriage. It's all about, what can you do for me? I want my rights. I want my, fulfill your duties towards me. It becomes a very transactional, business-like relationship with a red pill man. And that's what Andrew Tate always promotes. He always says, I'll provide for you, I'll take care of you, I'll protect you, I'll give you money. And in return, don't ask me about what I'm doing with my life. Don't get upset when I do things that you don't like. It's transactional. There's no real emotion. There's no real love. Because if there was real love, on top of him being a provider and carer and protector, he would be married by now. He'd be married and he'd be settled. But there's an emotional disconnect here going on. There's an emotional disconnect which makes these men exert their power in different ways. Because you can win over a woman with affection, love, compassion, and all those things. But if you don't have that in you, then your best chances are to use money and a luxury lifestyle and a good lifestyle, comfortable lifestyle, in order to catch a wife or catch a woman. And a lot of these men, they get played, they get taken advantage of by women who know the game, narcissistic women in particular, who know how to manipulate narcissistic men because they know each other's games. And that's why a lot of these red pill men, they always say, especially the Muslim ones, don't spend your money on women. Don't take them out to dinner, nice dinners. Don't buy them expensive gifts. Don't do this, don't do that. Because they have been deceived. They have invested their money in the wrong places. They know this. But they're applying it to all women. A lot of these men have invested money and wasted money in haram relationships because they've been trying for a long time to catch a particular woman, and it's taken a long time and a lot of money and a lot of energy to get her. And in the end, she may have not even stuck around for very long. She may have come, take what she wants, and then she discards him. And where does that leave him? It leaves him out of pocket, humiliated and angry that he didn't really get what he wanted out of it after all that investment. So that's why a lot of these men, they say, don't spend money on these women. Don't work hard for these women. Like give them the bare minimum. Give them the bare minimum of everything. Now, women who are high caliber for them in terms of, beauty, they will invest in them. But women who they want as wives, they don't invest in them. They don't. They will make sure that the long-term wife is the one who settles for the bare minimum. And they will use Islam again to justify that. That you should be grateful that I offer you a house and that I offer you, to pay your bills, and I offer to, to buy this and to buy that for you. Basic minimum things that a woman can now do for herself. And this is what red pill men hate. Because when a woman stands up for herself, a Muslim woman, she's working, she's got a career, she might be a medical doctor, a surgeon, a lawyer, a solicitor, whatever. And she says to him, well, I've got my own house. I've got my own car. I've got my own income. I pay my own bills. I pay my own rent. What else are you bringing to the table? Because I can already do these things for myself. I'm not struggling to do this. Now he's saying she's a feminist. Now he's got a huge problem with her not accepting the basic minimum just to get married. He wants her to be grateful for the fact that he's able to provide her the basic minimum of what she's already providing for herself. And then they get angry when the woman is not accepting to leave everything that she's already doing for herself to live with a misogynistic Muslim man in a marriage. All of a sudden, this woman is now like a raging feminist because she'd prefer her own peace and lifestyle to having the advantage of him paying or covering the basic costs of living, but having a husband who is misogynistic and strict and using harsh interpretation of Islam on her. But somehow she's feminist. So a lot of men are getting very frustrated at the reality that a lot of Muslim women are not accepting the basic minimum anymore. And I'm not saying that that's right or wrong. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. But when a man presents himself as being misogynistic and being harsh and rude in how he understands Islam and how he communicates with people and how he communicates his opinions to people, he shouldn't be surprised when good women, do not want to marry them. They're not feminists. These are just women who are smart. They are smart and avoiding toxic men. So, men who keep warning others about, don't spend, don't do this, don't make effort, don't go out of your way. It's because they've wasted so much in haram relationships, wasted so much on women who did not give them what they want at the end of it. And they felt like it was wasted time and energy. And a lot of men do waste a lot of money on haram relationships. A lot of Muslim men do. And they regret it when they're older. Because when they come to actually get married and they find a good woman to marry, they've got no decent dowry to offer her. They can't afford to rent a house in a nicer area. They can't afford a wedding. They can't afford anything. Because all their money has been wasted in the haram pursuit of women and desires. So I agree in the sense that a man should not waste money on a woman he's not even engaged to. Save that money, save it and spend it on her when you propose, she's accepted the proposal, her family like you. That is when you start to invest in that woman. But don't invest in women that you're chasing before marriage like that. You shouldn't. Don't waste your money. Don't waste your money doing that. Buying expensive gifts and jewelry and handbags and shoes and all that. I see men do that with women that they're chasing and trying to get the approval of because these are materialistic Barbie girl dolls who like these things. You will be wasting your money because these women will take advantage of you buying them everything. Wait until you found a woman who is worth investing in, who is worth marrying. A lot of these men also have failed marriages because of their inclination to take multiple wives in secret. And so it causes marital problems with the wives that they already have, or the wife they already have, and it leads to the breakdown of the marriage. It leads to, children living in separate homes and so on. It can even lead to domestic violence. A lot of these red pill Muslim men are engaged in so much domestic violence cases. They're involved in so many of them. And so, it's because of their narcissistic views that are enmeshed with their harsh interpretation of Islam. A lot of these women who are married to red pill misogynistic Muslim men are victims of domestic violence. They are struggling to get divorces from these men. They are held hostages in these marriages. They are being deprived of seeing their children because a woman has either asked for a divorce or she's just not being obedient enough, not submissive enough. I see it all the time. I have clients all the time who come to me because they're married to men like this. They're married to men who have no regard for their feelings whatsoever, when they keep wanting to change wives and add new wives and take away wives and divorce wives, and it just causes so many problems because she feels that she's not getting her rights met in a marriage. So when she starts to call him out on his faults and address the issues in the marriage, for example, he's taken a second wife and she's arguing with him saying, well, you're not even fulfilling all of my rights for you to go and take a second wife. He doesn't like it. He doesn't like being called out. He doesn't like being held accountable for things. And that's when, problems are caused. He tries to put her back in her place as a woman who just stays quiet, who just accepts, who's just compliant, forever reminding her that she has to be grateful and stay silent because he's provided a roof over her head, because he's given her food, he's given her shelter, he's paying her bills. It's like a constant reminder that she has to be grateful because he is providing for her. And then they wonder why so many women just want financial independence. Why so many women now prefer to stay single and have their career, have their money, have their own homes, than be married to Muslim men. Because unfortunately, this mindset that is being promoted is putting a lot of women off marriage. And men wonder why. Because if this is something that they're going to hold over women, then women will prefer to not be married at all. So this is a serious problem. This is a serious problem because you're going to get tested in marriage. Women are going to get irritated. They're going to get angry. They're going to get upset. They're going to get jealous. If a man is going to kick a woman out because she has gone into a little bit of a breakdown, because she's jealous over something, and he's decided that he's going to divorce her because she's easily replaceable, because he has the money to do so, what kind of person does that make him? That's somebody with an incredibly low amount of empathy. And if you don't have empathy, you can't be a believer. You cannot be a believer if you have no empathy. Because your inability to consider other people's feelings when you do something, it's what makes you deficient as a believer. It makes you deficient. Empathy makes a believer stronger. It makes a person wiser. It makes a person calmer. Because you are now able to look at the situation with wisdom and patience when you have empathy. When you don't have empathy, you're impulsive. That's why narcissists are very impulsive. They make quick decisions. They make decisions in anger and rage. They always make the wrong decisions when they're angry and in rage. But because they're impulsive, they don't have that wisdom and they don't have that patience and empathy to be able to process something as leaders. And that is the main quality of a leader. If a leader has no empathy, there is no wisdom. There can be no wisdom with a lack of empathy, especially in personal matters. Now, you may not need it in business matters, but you definitely need it in personal matters when other people's feelings are involved. Other people's feelings are involved. So how can you be a leader and protector if you have an inability and a lack of emotional intelligence to actually deal with the people around you? How can you do that? You can't be a leader and you can't be a protector. So that's already crossed out from the alpha male Muslim red pillar. That's already been crossed out. They don't have that. So when we look at the character of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, we see that he was incredibly brave. He used to be on the front line whenever there was a battle. Whenever there was a battle, he was always on the front line. He was never scared. He was never scared of dying. He was never scared of his enemies. He was brave. He was courageous. He was a provider. He was a leader. He was a protector, not only for himself, not only for his family, but for the entire community. He had the backs of all women in his community, not just his wives and not just his children, everybody. But at the same time, he was the most loving man to his family, the best of men. The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said, the best of you are those who are best to their families. The best of you. It's not the best of you are those who make the most money, the most powerful, the wealthiest, the ones who have the most women, the ones who have leadership, the ones who are presidents and emperors and sultans, kings. He said the best of you are those who are best to their families. And you can never be someone great to your family if you have no empathy. And all of these red pill men have no empathy. I actually saw a video. It was like a short reel on Instagram it was a video of Andrew Tate, and he was telling his friends a story in it. He was telling his friends a story about his mother, and he was saying that he was actually laughing. It was meant to be a funny story. He was telling all his friends. He said that when he was intimate one day with one of his side chicks, and his mother called him. He said, my mother called me and she was panicking. She was really panicking. She kept calling. And he said, I'm being intimate with this woman, and my mother keeps calling me and I'm irritated. I'm really irritated. Like, why is she keep calling me? So he picks up the phone and he's like, what do you want? What do you want, Mom? What do you want? So she was crying and she was panicking on the phone. And she was telling him that I was just about to go meet your granddad. And I just found out that he's dead. He's dead in his house. And I don't know what to do. So he took a moment and he said, I'll call you back. He hung up the phone on his mum. And he was making fun of the way his mum was over the phone, by the way. He was making fun of her and the way she was, panicking. He said, so I hung up on her and then I went back to complete being intimate with this girl. So the girl was shocked. She said, how could you continue, being intimate with me when your mother's just called you to tell you that your granddad's just died? She just found out that your granddad's dead. And he started laughing and he said, well, so what? What am I going to, what's going to happen now? He's dead. What can I do about it? He's already dead. So just that small video of Andrew Tate not only was he making fun of his mum, the lack of empathy he had for his mother at that time, he didn't have the ability to comfort her. He didn't have the ability, he even shocked the woman that he was with. He shocked her. How can you continue being intimate with me now after your mother just called you, distressed, telling you that she needs you right now? She needs your comfort. She needs you to be there. You should be there in a flash. But he didn't care. He said, well, my granddad's dead. What am I going to do about that now? He's dead. So this lack of empathy for the mother proves my point that a lot of these red pill men, if not all of them, have serious issues from childhood that go back to their mothers. They've got mummy issues. They've got issues with women, constant issues with women that emotionally detach them from the women in their lives. It's irritating. He was irritated that his mother now needs him. She needs him emotionally. It's difficult for him to be there for her emotionally because he's disconnected. He's disconnected from that part of him. Now, red pill men, I'll come back to this issue of women, of the mummy issue in a minute. But what I want to say is that the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, because he was the ultimate example of the alpha male, I just want to show you that because he had the side to him, he had the tough side to him, he had the leadership side, He had the soldier in him. He had the missionary. The man who would go out fearlessly and give dawah to everybody. He was the best at it because he was so beautiful in his character. And at home, he was extremely loving, extremely caring, extremely patient with children, extremely patient with his wives. No one was more loving to his family than the Prophet. So it takes a balance of the two. You have to have that emotional side. You've got to have that, men say it's the feminine. It's the feminine side to men when they become caring, kind, loving, compassionate. It's not the feminine side, it's the human side. All people have it. But narcissistic men switch it off. Switch it off because they were never taught from childhood how to deal with their emotions. They weren't taught how to love and how to receive love. So they don't know what to do with it. They don't actually know how to love women. They know how to use women because that's what narcissists do. Narcissists will never get involved with women unless there's something to benefit from that woman. They will be there to use women 100%. But do they know how to love women and really take care of women and her emotional needs and her psychological needs and her spiritual needs? No, they don't. No, they don't. And for that reason, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells men in the Quran to only marry one woman. That yes, it is permissible for you to marry up to 4. But if you cannot be just with the 4, then marry just the one woman. Because it's not just money that entitles a man, that makes a man, qualified to have 4 wives. It's his emotional intelligence too. It's his emotional ability to actually love his wives and be there for his wives emotionally too, spiritually too. It's not just money. Women don't want money just thrown at them and that's it. Women want to be taken care of. They've got emotional needs as well that a lot of men are unable to fulfill when they're narcissistic. But narcissistic men, they want to ignore that part of it, ignore that part of polygyny, ignore that part of a woman's rights in marriage. They just think if I make loads of money, then I can have as many beautiful women as I can. All the beautiful women that I want because I got the money. I'll reel them in with the money. But are they really the best husbands to all 4 of them? Hell no. 1000% they're not. And that's why these marriages don't work out. They don't last very long. They're always temporary. Even if a woman went in with the intention of it just being a halal marriage and, settling down, having children, even if it's done this way, is a secret, secret second wife, secret third wife, it doesn't matter, she's settled. She will eventually leave because she's so miserable. She's not getting her emotional needs met because the narcissist cannot do it. So this brings me on to my next point, which is the type of women that narcissistic red pill men, Muslim men attract, and non-Muslims. They attract the codependent women who are attached to this dunya, who are dazzled by the supercars, dazzled by the money and the lifestyles and the designer clothes and the financial bait that these men have. They're dazzled by it. So a lot of these men will attract codependent women and narcissistic women who are attached to the dunya, and they'll be beautiful. They will be beautiful women. They will be attracted to the material benefits of what the narcissist can offer. And the narcissist will be attracted to the beauty that this woman comes with. So they get into a relationship. It becomes very toxic because once he is now bored of her, he's bored of, sleeping with her and she's bored of him being so emotionally unavailable, so boring to be around. One or the other will discard. One or the others will be the first to pull the plug on that relationship. Now, if the narcissistic woman, the covert narc woman, who has married the Muslim red pill man, is the one to pull the rug from under his feet or be the one to discard him first, he's going to be left with a very bitter taste in his mouth about women. Not only has he got mummy issues from childhood, now his experiences of women are getting worse and worse and worse because either he is being discarded by the women he reels in because they've got bored as well. Or they are using him. They're the ones using him, and that's why a lot of red pill Muslim men will also talk about gold diggers. They will also talk so badly about gold diggers because they've been burnt by women who played the same game back on them. I'm going to reel this beautiful woman into my life. I'm going to use her for sex under the guise of it being a temporary Islamic marriage, and then I'll discard her when I'm bored of her and replace her. But they forget that a lot of narcissistic Muslim women out there and a lot of highly narcissistic codependent women out there are also playing the same game. That I'm going to come into this marriage, temporary marriage, I'm going to take everything I can get financially, and then I'm going to leave him for someone else because I've got the beauty. I have the privilege of being so beautiful, I can easily get a rich man. Easily get a rich man. That's how they think. So they play the narcissist at his own game. Now, because of the way the narc lives his life, the Muslim red pillar lives his life, the luxury, he's always going to the gym, flexing his muscles, trying to make himself look as good as possible, maybe looking as pious as possible. Maybe he's going to a alim course, he's studying to be a alim, he's studying to be a Muslim scholar, all of those things, that he can show off, to beautiful Muslim women about. He gets majorly played, and he becomes bitter, and they talk about, be careful of women. Women are evil. Women are gold diggers. Women are this, women are that. You shouldn't be patient with women. Because they're talking about their own experiences. Because the only women they can attract into their lives are toxic women. And the other type of women they will attract into their lives are women who have been used to being so mistreated by male family members. So if a woman has grown up, being hit and beaten by her dad, by her brothers, by her uncles, verbally abused, spiritually abused, she's programmed to see that as normal now. She can deal with that. So misogynistic Muslim men they love that. Oh my goodness, they love women who find it normal to be so disrespected because they're doormats to walk all over. A codependent woman who is tolerant to abuse, who puts up with abuse, these are the women they tend to marry long term. These are the women they have their children from because they're easily controlled and manipulated. However, the codependent women and the narcissistic women who are very beautiful but not trusted by the Muslim red pill men, they are the ones who are married temporarily, for short periods of time. So these women tend to be the ones that the men admire the most because they see them as trophies. So when a man manages to catch one of these, highly beautiful women, these women are seen as trophies. So when the woman plays the game on the narcissist and she manages to trick him, deceive him, even hurt him, time and time again, like woman after woman after woman. If women keep doing this to men, they will start to develop a deep hatred for women. A lot of narcissists who have a deep hatred for women were either let down by their mothers or let down by a woman they trusted. Always, always, always. And that's why they never settle. Narcissistic men never settle. And the reason why they never settle is because the women who are the types of wives that they would want would never go for a man who is like that. So let's take Andrew Tate, for example. If he was to get married, he always says in his videos that the type of woman I want is someone who is traditional, decent, doesn't go clubbing, doesn't have male friends, is spiritual. Now he'll probably say he wants someone religious, a good Muslim. He wants somebody who's calm and peaceful and doesn't argue and this and that. That's an empath woman. Empathic women are the best women to raise families. They are the best women to raise children. But because they're not attached to the dunya, because they're not impressed by money and good looks and all this wealth and all these mansions and all these private jets, because they're not impressed by that, narc men can never get them. They want what they can't have. And that's why they don't settle. That's why they don't get married. That's why they don't have stability in their lives. Because the only women who can give them that are empaths. But the empaths are women who would never marry people like that. They would never go near people like Andrew Tate. Why? Because empathic women, especially those who have deen, they are connected to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So they don't like to be in situations and environments where a lot of major sins are happening. They don't like to be in places where a lot of oppression is happening. A lot of misogyny and corruption is happening. And it happens a lot in these societies. An empath woman is not going to accept her husband engaging in zina with other women when he has her. An empath woman is not going to accept being disrespected. An empath woman is not going to accept anything less than what she deserves. And if she is looking beyond, if she's looking beyond the material that he can offer, then he will know, the narc man, the Muslim red pillar will know that he's got nothing to offer if she's looking beyond all of that. Because what the empath woman prioritizes is good character. Good character, emotional intelligence, wisdom, intellect, the ability to lead, the ability to look up to somebody and really respect and admire that man because he's such a great man. He's such a wonderful man. He's a wonderful family man. He'll be a great father. He's empathic, he's kind, he's loving, he's sweet. He's got all those beautiful qualities that the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ had. Like, take Khadija radiallahu anha. She was the wealthiest woman in Quraysh. But she did not want a man who was wealthy like her or more than her because of her empathic nature. She wanted a man who was amazing in character. And she chose the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ based on his character because that was more valuable to her than money. It was more valuable to her than him having mansions and private jets and everything. It was more valuable. So because empathic women are not connected to the dunya and all narc men can offer is the dunya, they can't get empathic women. And that's why they don't settle down. Because they are always in toxic relationships with narcissistic women and highly codependent women who are brainwashed into being slaves. They say that, they want women to be submissive and everything, but they actually want women to be slaves and tolerate all their abuse, tolerate their evil ways, tolerate their zina, tolerate the way that they want to live their lives, all their major sins, everything. They don't want submissive women, they want slaves. And empathic women will not stand for that. So they want what they can't have because they don't have the ability they don't have that character to offer. Narcissists don't have that empathy and that character and that love and that compassion and understanding to offer empathic women. So they stay away from empaths. They don't go near empathic women. And that's why they stay in that cycle of being toxic, toxic relationship after relationship after relationship. And the more they get involved with women, narcissistic women and codependent women who don't give them peace, because they're both insecure. Narc women and codependent women are both extremely insecure. And the narcissist is also insecure. Can you imagine living in a household or having a marriage when you're insecure and your partner's insecure and you don't trust each other and each one is trying to outpower the other and play games on the other and constantly, play mind games? And can you imagine how toxic and restless that marriage would be? It's horrible. It's awful. So they're never happy. Narcissists are never happy because these are the only women they can get. Yes, they might be beautiful, but there's no peace. There's no joy. There's no settlement. There's no stability. And that's why all of these men are not married. They might be married, but they're not happy. They might be married, but they're not stable And that's why they constantly promote this deep hatred of women. They warn other men who have never been married before, don't get married. Women are evil. Women are this, women are that. Because they are dealing with women like this. These are the types of women who will accept to marry men like this because they've got material, gains to get from this. They've got a nice lifestyle that they can have for a while. So they will attract women who love the dunya, women who love plastic surgeries, women who only care about their looks. It's all about the dunya. Look at people who are influenced by the red pill Muslim men. If you look deeply, you'll see that a lot of them don't want to get married anymore. They're terrified of getting married to women because of what these red pill men keep telling men about women, about how their toxic manipulation, about how they get played, about how they get abandoned and betrayed by these women. They are already marrying toxic women because that's all they can get. That's the best they can get. There are some red pillars who are married to empaths only by force. So it would be, for example, a father forcing his daughter to marry, for example, her cousin or her distant relative because, to keep it in the family or for politics or for whatever reason. It has happened before where empathic women have been stuck with narcissistic men, but it doesn't happen so much anymore. But remember that these are the only women that red pill men can get. They don't get the high caliber woman because high caliber women, the same way that they don't want women who have a high body count, empathic women don't want that either in men. It's not, they have double standards. They have double standards. They can go and do whatever they want. Again, this is narcissistic. This is satanic. That a man can go and do whatever he wants and feels like he's not accountable for anything he does. But the woman has to be pure. The woman has to be young so I can mould her. The woman has to be young and not have seen the world, not know anything, not have any male friends, not have any friends at all, if possible, not have any family, not have nothing, so that she's easily controlled, easily manipulated. She's so naive, she's so innocent. It's easy prey. Why would they want older women who are experienced and who know their mind games, who know that they're toxic and run a mile? Of course they don't want older women. Older women scare them. But they say that these older women have baggage. Oh, we're not going to get married to older women. They've got a lot of baggage. The younger women don't have baggage. No, the younger women are easier to control. The younger women are easier to brainwash, especially with religion. More easily spiritually abused. Whereas the older woman, she's had experiences. She's more educated. She's not naive. So they avoid the older women. And that's why you get people like Sunnah Guy. I used to really like Sunnah Guy's videos. I used to always post them on my page. Because some of them, he would have a nice way of, conveying a message in a humorous way. It would be funny. Until he posted that video about women aging like milk and men aging like wine. Again, this exposes a deep hatred for women. He's bitter about something that a woman's done to him. Whether it's his mother, whether it's his ex-wife. Something has happened to that man for him to say something like that. And then you get Mehdi Tijani, who went on to say, Sunnah Guy created an outrage online about that post. He lost a lot of credibility, but, there was no shame either because he said, well, at least he got me exposure, At least I got a lot of followers out of it. There's no shame. There's no shame in saying something like that. And then Mahdi, he created a follow-up video about women being like sour cream that goes off within a few days. It's even worse than milk that goes off. When you hear things like this, you've got to ask yourself, I want all men to ask themselves, if the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ was here, would he approve of that? Would he approve of this kind of da'wah and this kind of education? Would he approve of anyone speaking about women in that way? That just because of your own bad experiences and your own bitterness and your own heartbreaks, that women have caused you in your life because of your own bad choices, that women are now all put in that category of being, like disgusting and sour and age terribly, and, men have the privilege of aging wonderfully. You know why a lot of women age terribly? It's because they're married to men like this. They're married to men who deplete them of their health, their joy, their love for life, their their deen. Narcissists will deplete a woman quicker than anyone else because of how empty he is. He's got to take and take and take and take until she's aged, until she's tolerated abuse for so long. Of course she's going to age. Of course she's going to lose her health and look terrible. And because these are the only women narcissistic associate themselves with, that's all they see. They see women who age like milk. That is an indicator of the kind of women that they are around. That's an indicator. And it's an indicator of the kind of respect that they have for their own female relatives. How could you say that? Haven't you got a mother? Haven't you got sisters? To say something so, offensive, that women age like, sour cream, sour milk, whatever it was that he said. Like, this shows a deep hatred for women. Everything he's doing comes out of pain. It's out of pain. It's out of bitterness. It's out of, revenge on women. I'm going to use and abuse them and discard them. Use, abuse and discard. Use, abuse and discard. Until I feel better about myself. But does he feel better about himself? No. I always see them also miserable. They're always so miserable in their videos. They promote temporary relationships, temporary happiness. They're brainwashing young men, because now all of these young men who can't make a lot of money, who feel worthless now because they can't get wealthy. They can't get wealth. They don't understand this whole crypto thing. They don't understand how to make a business successful. They don't know how to get a beautiful wife. Now he feels worthless. Why do you think suicide's gone up so much amongst young men? It's the red pillar men who are encouraging men to take their own lives. Because men feel worthless. They think, well, if I can't be rich. If I can never be rich, then I'm worthless. Then I'll never get the woman I want. I'll never be able to enjoy women. I'll never be able to get a beautiful wife. I'm here stuck in my 9 to 5, working my butt off, trying to make money, and I can't. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has not written it in my risk for me to be rich. He's not written for it. Allah has not written for everybody who works hard to be rich. So a lot of men are starting to feel like failures when they can't get rich, no matter how much work they put into it. They can't get rich. They can't get muscly in the gym. Their genetics don't allow it. They can't, there's a lot of things that they can't do. And then they just feel like failures. Suicide has never been so high amongst young men like it is now. And I honestly believe so much of it is down to these red pill men who are promoting an unrealistic goal and mission in life for young men to achieve. Because it doesn't work like that. Your rizq, your money and your wealth is not in your hands. Allah gives it to whom He wills. You might not work. You might find it effortlessly. You might just get it in an inheritance without having to work a day in your life. You'll find yourself one day very wealthy. And a man who slaves away for 15 years at his business cannot even, cannot make enough to have that kind of lifestyle that these rich men promote. It's not written in his rizq. And a lot of men who do not get rich is out of the protection of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not want them to turn out like these people. Because a lot of men, as soon as they get money, they turn into narcissists. They turn into very entitled, arrogant, savage, women-hating misogynists, because now they're thinking, oh, I've got money now. I can get all the women I want. I can use, abuse and discard. Wash, spin, dry cycle. Again. So Allah protects a lot of young men from getting rich. He protects them. Don't think that it's because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not love you. It's out of love that He doesn't want you to end up like that. He doesn't want you to end up in that cycle of life where you only get temporary happiness. You never get any contentment from life. You never have any stability. You don't have family. You don't enjoy the essence of having children and raising children and being a great father. Money can take that away from you. Wealth can take that away from you. And having lots of beautiful women around you all the time will definitely take it away from you, because you'll never be content with anybody. Tell me, who are you going to choose out of 100 beautiful women to be your wife when you've got so many options? The more options you have, the harder it is to settle down. The longer it will take. And a lot of these men end up in their 60s and 70s and they still don't have that family, because they believe that they've got options. There's always better. There's always better. There's always better. But the truth is, above all of this, that the empath woman that they want, they can never get. So they stay until their 60s and 70s without that stability. Because not only are they not willing to change themselves, but the empath woman will never be drawn to a man like that. She's not impressed by the material he has to offer. What she wants, he doesn't have. The character she wants is what he doesn't have. And so he will always feel, there will always be something inside him that will never feel good enough. That's why they're insecure. He knows that he can't get every woman he wants, no matter how much money you have in the world. You can't get every woman, but you can get toxic women. You can get codependents, you can get narcissists. But the high caliber woman you can't get. You can't get. So they try to compensate for that loss by being with so many women, whether it's by marriage, zina, whatever it is that they choose to do. It gives them a sense of, confidence that they can get all of these women. It makes them feel invincible to get all the women that they want and waste their time. You're wasting your life thinking all about, just thinking about sex all the time, thinking about all the women I can have all the time. What a waste of a life. Do you not have a greater mission in life to do, to complete, to accomplish? Each one of us has a mission in life. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us all like an amazing mission in life. It's a da'wah mission. It's a mission to change the lives of other people, to improve the lives of other people. That's our mission in life. But the narcissist doesn't think like that. And the narcissist will always think about, how can I maximize my pleasure of this dunya? Without thinking about their mission spiritually. They're not thinking about their spiritual growth. They're not thinking about the good they can do for other people. They're only thinking about what they can take. If I can make this money, I can take this. But they will still complain about gold diggers, funnily enough. They are creating the bait for gold diggers, but yet they don't like the feeling of being used, because they use other people. A narcissist doesn't like people doing to them what they do to others at all. This rotation of women, this constant rotation of women, is what makes them so insecure about women who have male friends. That's why they don't want women. That's why they want virgin women. They want women who don't have any boyfriends, who don't have any male friends, because they don't want people doing to them what they do to others. And that's why you get so many of these rich men saying, I can sleep with as many women as I want, but she's not allowed to. Double standards. Narcissists don't like people doing to them what they do to others, because they know it's wrong. They know it's wrong. But having money is power for them. But what they don't understand is that because of their arrogance has blinded them so much, they don't understand or prepare themselves to lose it all one day. Because they will. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will take it from them one day. And He will take it from them to humble them. He will bring them back to earth. When He takes away their health, He takes away their money, everything that they've managed to collect and accumulate in life of wealth and riches and assets, and it will all go. And then where will the women be? There will be no more beautiful women around them. They don't ever believe that this day is coming. And that's why in their videos they're so arrogant. And you see so many of them get cancer. So many of them get terminal illnesses. So many of them get bankrupt. And I wonder how they feel when they look back on their videos, how arrogant they were about, all the money that they had, and they looked down upon other men, and they laughed at feminine men, and they laughed at men who couldn't make money. I wonder how they feel about their arrogance when they've been humbled. And this is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did to Qarun, when he used to walk out in the street with all his wonderful clothes, and he used to look down upon everybody who didn't have money, who didn't dress as well as him, and Allah made the earth swallow him. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who has power, it's not you. Just no matter how much wealth you accumulate, you will never be more powerful than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah can take it from you in the blink of an eye. But these narcissists don't think like that because of the lack of empathy. They don't consider these things. So they look like fools when they lose everything, which they always will. They always do. They will lose everything. And then, when they come back down to earth, they feel really stupid for what they did and what they said and how they treated people. But they'll find no one there for them. No one will be there to support them. Take the example of that young man. I can't remember his name. Was it Ali Bennett, the one who died from cancer? And he had a successful business. He was driving Lamborghinis. He used to have so many Rolex watches and everything. And he died of cancer. He got so sick, and then he ended up donating his money to charity, and he did well with it. But he's a prime example. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will always use young men like this as prime examples, for them to humble themselves. Them Muslim red pill narcissistic men have to humble themselves before it's too late, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will take something from you that will make your wealth worthless, will make the women around you worthless. They will not support you or be there for you when you've got a terminal illness. So it's just something to think about, because, all this foot on throat approach to women, all this objectifying women, sexualizing women, making women feel like they're worthless, that they're replaceable, that they're on rotation. All of this will backfire. And then they complain about women being feminists. Red pill men, narcissistic men, have fueled feminism more than any other people. You fuel feminism. And it's backfired on you now, because women now have standards. Women now are not accepting to be submissive to men like that. Women are outspoken. They stand up for themselves. They don't accept basic minimum anymore. And why don't they accept basic minimum? Because the character's not there. The character is not there. If you do not bring enough to the table of character, no woman is going to be submissive to you. No woman is going to respect you as a leader if you can't even deal with your own emotions, if you don't even have a half-decent character to bring to the table. So a lot of these Muslim men claim that, any woman who stands up for herself, I'm probably labelled as a feminist by them. They probably see I'm far from being feminist, but they'll see me as feminist because, I can stand up for myself, and I can stand up for other people, and I can talk like this. I can create these podcasts. To them, I'm feminist, because they don't like it when women stand up for themselves. They don't like it when women have a voice. So they will blame feminism on the way Muslim women treat them right now, and that because they have standards, because they won't accept the basic minimum anymore. When actually they're the ones who are fueling and pushing Muslim women to be more feminist by the day, because of the abuse that they're being put through, because of the objectification, because of the sexual, the sexual perceptions that these men have of these women, of women in general. So more and more women want independence. They want financial independence, so they don't have to marry men like this anymore. You see? So when more women become more feminist and they don't get married, and the Muslim red pill guys are encouraging young men to not get married, then what's going to happen to our societies when both men and women are not getting married? That's why zina is becoming widespread right now. So, I saw this project that, I think it's an app that Mahdi Tijani created called No Strings Nikah. What's this? Like, this is horrific. This is Muslim Tinder. You are encouraging men to abuse women. You are encouraging the abuse of women. Always ask yourselves, if the Prophet was here, would he approve of what's going on? Would he approve of the way people speak about Islam, about women, about being alpha, about being beta? Would he approve? And if the answer is no, if you really ask yourself deep down, and the answer is no, avoid those people. Do not look at them as your role models. Stay away from them, because they're going to ruin your life. These types of men and women who are so pro, red pill, they are going to ruin your life. They are ruining society. They are ruining society, and they think that they're doing a great job, liberating men, teaching men about the toxic ways of women. Yeah, you're teaching men the toxic ways of women that you attract. You're all feeding off the same garbage. You're all from the same pool. Other men who are empathic are not going to attract the same kinds of women. So they are teaching men how to treat women from their own garbage pool. Because they're all toxic together. They're all toxic together. So don't let people's bad experiences of women and men influence how you live your life. We have the Quran and Sunnah, we have the Hadiths for that reason, so that we have that role model to look up to. I mean, look at Kobe Bryant, for example. When Kobe Bryant died in that helicopter crash with his daughter, what was he remembered for the most? Was he remembered for being an amazing basketball player? Was he remembered for his money? No, he wasn't. He was remembered for being a family man. He was one of the best role models of a family man I've ever seen. What a beautiful man that was as a father and a husband. There was a standing ovation for him at his funeral, because that was the main thing that everyone had mentioned in his, in their speeches about Kobe, about what a wonderful father he was to his daughters, and what a wonderful husband he was. Everyone could vouch for that. Not one person could stand up and say that he was a bad father or a bad husband. The people who knew him and didn't know him knew, they knew his, they knew his reputation of being a family man. That is the kind of man the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ wants men to be. He wants Muslim men to be like that, to be known as the best family men, to be known to offer that stability and that love and that care and that compassion. He was so loved by his daughters. He was so close to them. Look at misogynistic, narcissistic Muslim men. Are they close to their daughters? If they're close to their daughters, they're close in a toxic way. They're teaching them manipulation. They're using them as pawns, but to harm the mother. They're using them for their own benefit. They're stopping them from getting married so that they can take their salary when they're older, so that they can, serve their fathers and be slaves to them growing up. But are they loving fathers? No. Narcissistic men can never be loving fathers like that, unless it's in their own benefit. There's a benefit out of it to manipulate usually it's to manipulate the ex, or to manipulate the mother and make the mother jealous. So, our deen encourages men to be loving, compassionate and kind. But you can only be like that when you choose the right women to marry, when you choose the empathic women to marry. If you're marrying narcissists and codependents, yeah, you're gonna get played. You're gonna get heartbroken. You're gonna get used and abused and discarded, my friend. You will. And if you don't wake up to understanding the ways of women and the difference between empaths, narcs and codependents, if you don't wake up to the reality of the existence of these different types of Muslim women and women in general, then you're going to end up being a red pill Muslim man who is also bitter and hates women deep down, and projecting that into everything that you do. Learn how to choose the right woman for yourself. Learn how to choose an empathic woman who will be so loving, kind, compassionate, patient with you, who will choose you for your character. She will choose you for your deen. She will choose you for your amazing ability to be an amazing father. Don't lose those traits just because the red pillars say that, tell you to, because it makes you feminine or it makes you beta. That is what gives you value to the right women. But if you want to go for narcs and codependence, then yeah, get rid of it. Get rid of your empathy and your kindness and your compassion. Just make a lot of money and reel all the toxic women into your life. You go ahead and do that if that's what you want. But because they don't have that empathy, kindness, compassionate love, they don't have that in their hearts, they're unable to get the women that they want. And that's why they just have the worst experiences with women, and they hate women, and they're just warning all men about women. And you would. I understand that. When you're abused again and again and again, like even with women, if a woman gets into 3 or 4 marriages with narcissistic Muslim men, she's going to hate men. 100% she's going to hate men. Because now she believes that all men are like this. But not realising that she's only attracting narcs and codependents. But she hasn't attracted an empathic man yet who will treat her well, who will treat her with love and treat her with kindness. She hasn't attracted that kind of men there. So she's going to hate them. She's going to absolutely hate men. And that's what's happened to these men. They hate women because of their constant bad experiences with women, starting from childhood, starting with, the neglect of their mothers. And I can promise you that if a covert narc man marries an overt narc woman, she will be the one to destroy him. Because the covert narc has no self-esteem, very low in security, they're very low in self-worth, self-value. They have a lot of self-hate. The overt narcissist is overly confident. So the overly confident will always overpower the one who is insecure. So if you come across a woman in your life and she's narcissistic and she doesn't care that people know that she's narcissistic, she will destroy you. She will absolutely destroy you. Whether you're a covert narc or not, that confident narcissistic woman will take you for everything you've got and destroy you. And a lot of covert narc men take them on as a challenge, not realising that these women are actually very intelligent. They know how to get what they want and very quickly. They're quick to discard. They're quick to take what they need and they're quick to discard. But men are infatuated with their beauty, and that's how they fall for their deception. Covert narc men are very naive to the deceptions and manipulations of overt narc women. Extremely naive. So you've got to be very careful who you take as a role model. None of this is Islam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not approve of people who objectify women. Men who use polygyny to fulfill the dunya desire of just having multiple sexual partners. It doesn't work like that. That's not what the meaning of polygyny is. I've got a podcast about misogyny and polygyny. It's one of the first podcasts I've done on this channel. You'll find it. It goes into detail about this particular subject area, about what Islam says about misogynistic men having multiple wives. So I won't repeat myself in this one. But the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, he would have been horrified at the state of men now. He would have been horrified at the red pillars right now. He really would have been disgusted at how a lot of these men come across in their attitude to women. Because if we go back to that example of Mahdi talking and Sunnah guy talking about women, women aging like milk, and he's supposed to be someone giving da'wah. He's supposed to be a student of knowledge. He's supposed to be someone who is teaching Islam to other people. If you say that to women, what on earth would make them convert to Islam if they think that all Muslim men think like this? I mean, just use that as a simple. Just ask yourselves that simple question: which women would convert to Islam After hearing that from someone who's supposedly meant to be practicing, who's supposedly meant to be someone giving dawah, who is supposed to be someone studying Islam and having knowledge, she's now thinking, this is what Islam teaches men about women. There's no way I'm converting to Islam. Can you see the harm it does to be that way? Like now you've gained a lot of sins by releasing idiotic videos like that are harming you in the dunya and the akhirah, because you will be putting off a lot of ignorant people about Islam. Those who are ignorant about Islam, you're going to be putting them off Islam, because they're thinking, I don't want anything to do with that. If that's what an alpha man looks like in Islam, if that's what Islam promotes men to be like, I don't want to be Muslim. I don't want to be Muslim. What's the difference between toxic secular culture and Muslim culture? Nothing. It's the same. So always ask yourselves, I'll leave you with this one note. Always ask yourselves, when you see a Muslim, man or woman, and they're promoting something toxic, or you're confused about something like their perception of women, their perception of marriage, ask yourselves, would the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, would he have approved of this? Would this sit well with the Prophet? Would he be okay with someone being that aggressive, that arrogant, that entitled, that rude when they come to promote their ideologies and they pass it off as being Islamic and being the right path and being, this is the way men should be and this is how women should be. Women should be slaves. Women should, not argue. Women should shut up. Women should know their place. Women should this, women should that. Do you think the Prophet spoke to his people like that? Definitely not. Definitely not. No one fought for women's rights like he did. Nobody. And he was soft and he was kind. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells him in the Quran, and if you are harsh in heart and you are rude in speech, they would have all run away from you. You can't give da'wah like that, whether it's to Muslims or non-Muslims. You can't be teaching people like that, with aggressiveness, with harshness, with rudeness. He said, deal with them in kindness and with love and pray for them. Whoever wants to listen to you will listen to you. Whoever doesn't want to listen to you will not listen to you. It's their choice. But when you convey the message, convey it with love, convey it with kindness. These men are speaking out of pain, out of anger, out of bad experiences with women, out of heartbreak. Always remember that. Do not let them influence you based on their bad experiences. Do not let them do that to you, because they're going to ruin your life. They're going to ruin your life. You need to listen to people who are balanced, people who are more, they follow the prophetic way a lot more than they do. So, again, red pill Muslim men are narcissistic. They are narcissistic because they promote the dunya. They promote a man, getting the maximum benefits he can from the women around him, from the money that he can make. He's not thinking about how this is going to affect the majority of young men who can or cannot make that money. So if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has not given you that wealth, no matter what you do, you better believe that it's out of protection. He does not want you to go down that slippery road. Be content with what you have. Be content with what you have. Understand, if you're a narc, if you're a codependent, if you're an empath, you have to understand which category you fit in so that you can understand from where you need to work on yourself. How to work on yourself, how to start healing, how to start attracting empathic men and women into your lives so that you can have stability. The stability that these red pill men crave but can never get. They can't have it. They can't have it. Yes, they might be intelligent in some areas of their life. They might know how to make a lot of money. They might be intelligent as managers, CEOs, and all sorts. But in their personal lives, they're rubbish. In their personal lives, they have no idea. They've got no intelligence. They don't know what they're doing. You can't be great at everything. Narcissistic men are highly effective outside the home, outside their personal lives, but their personal lives are always a mess. Always a mess. So don't be like those guys Don't be like those guys. Find that inner peace, find that inner contentment, and learn how to attract the empathic woman. Please read my book. It's all in my book. Please leave me comments below. Let me know what you think of this podcast. If you want me to create a video about how to find empathic women, how to attract empathic women, how to marry them, let me know. If I get enough comments, if I get enough requests, then I'll do a podcast about it for men. But you really need, that's what you really need to understand. You really need to understand and learn how to do that. How to be empathic and how to attract empathic women into your life so you can have that stability in that family and that love. There is no life without love. You want that love. You want that care. You want that comfort. The same comfort that Khadija radiallahu anha gave to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. She was his best friend. She was his confidant. She was his therapist. She was his wife. She was everything to him. Everything. And that's what we all have to aim for. In order to be happy, that's what we aim for. We want that stability. We want that comfort. We want that person we can call home. Having women on rotation or men on rotation, that's not a life. There's no fulfillment. That's an empty life. It's a cold life. There's no home. There's no stability. There's no sense of being grounded. There's no sense of identity. You're constantly going from one woman to the other, one woman to the other. Where does it end? When does it end? It doesn't end. There are men in their 60s, 70s still doing that. Still unable to find that stability and comfort. And that's all they crave. They just crave that one person to go home to, that they can just feel so safe with, that they can trust, that they can, they can have that love with, that intimacy with, that family with, that home with. So don't deprive yourselves from all of this by listening to these kinds of people. Don't do it to yourselves. Do yourselves a favor. Learn how to be strong alpha men, and study the life of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Study his traits more. Study where he was alpha and where he was more feminine, where he was more lenient, where he was more empathic, loving and kind. Study these things. Read his biography. Read the story of his life so that you can understand when you need to be tough, when you need to have boundaries with women, when you can be lenient, when you can be this and when you can be that. Study the life of the Prophet so that you can be successful in your lives. Do not study and follow the lives of these seriously corrupt and mentally ill people. Do not do it to yourselves. I'm telling you this out of love. I'm telling you this out of love because you will lose so much. And inshallah, once you study the true character of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, then you will be able to attract the right people into your lives, and you can have that peace and happiness and contentment regardless of whatever it is that you earn. Regardless of what possessions you have, what money you have, you will find the right people come to you. So I hope that you've enjoyed that podcast, inshallah. And sorry it's a bit long. There was just so much to cover, so much to explain. But I would love to hear to read your comments below. And I do offer one-to-one counselling and coaching for anyone who needs it. Anyone who's struggling with this, being red pill or being influenced by red pill, please, reach out to me. I can help you with this. You can follow my Instagram page as well at The Muslim Narcissist. Everything about the book is there, or just, go onto the website, themuslimnarcissist.com for more information. And please do share this video with anyone who you think might benefit from it. And until the next podcast, inshallah, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you for listening.